So I was in Detroit, Michigan at a Schwitz.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Tina's Arena. Today we have my friend Andrea Anderson, who is talking about her 30-minute cold plunge journey.
I had never heard of a Schwitz before. So if you're like me and that's an unknown to you, it's basically a bathhouse with saunas and a cold plunge pool, as well as sometimes some spa services. So I had gone in the dry sauna for a while, sort of in and out based on what I could tolerate. And then I decided I wanted to go in the cold plunge pool. So I made my way over there. And as I was entering into the pool, I took my watch off, this one right here, and I glanced at it. It said 6:39 p.m. Set it down on the side of the pool, and then I went into the water. And so when I was in the water, definitely at first, I was really uncomfortable. The feeling of like, why am I doing this? I want to hurry. I want to get out. Like that hurried feeling of, no, 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 I don't want to do this. And I was in that space for a bit. And I noticed I looked over, there was somebody else from the group that I was in over by the side of the pool where I was, but further in. And she looked relaxed and trying to really focus. And I thought, that looks like a good idea. So I, faced the side of the pool and I closed my eyes and I just relaxed. But I wasn't relaxed at first. I was still noticing the cold. And then at some point, because I had cold plunge before, I knew that I didn't want to just keep focusing on the cold. So I started to relax a little bit more and notice what was feeling good about the water. I noticed how my legs were a little bit buoyant in the water, my legs felt soft in the water. And as I kept focusing on the more pleasing feelings, I stopped focusing on how cold it was. And then eventually I started to not feel cold at all. And around this time, some other people came into the pool, another couple women, and one woman was saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't like cold. I can't stand cold. It's not good for me. I can't handle it. And they were in and they were out. And then another group came in and they sat and they chatted and they were in for a bit. And I felt like maybe that distraction of talking, and maybe they've done this before too, was helping them to just sort of be leisurely in the water. And then they were out. And then some other people came in, they hung out, and then I decided at some point I felt something, a little bit of a shift internally, where I started to feel cold again, but not a heightened cold. It was just a little bit of a deeper cold that I could feel. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll get out now. So I started to walk out of the pool. I went over to where my watch was on the side of the pool, and I'm still in the water. And I glance at my watch and I look and I think my brain's not working right. I can't. Is that the right time? Am I seeing that right? And I'm like, no, actually, my brain is working okay. I got in at 6:39 p.m. and I was exiting at 7:11 p.m. And I thought, oh, that is weird, cool, and strange. And so I got out of the water in disbelief, thinking, I don't know how that just happened. And then I went into another sauna for a bit. I went and changed. And as I was changing, it dawned on me. I was able to be in the water for 30 minutes, not because I have some super great skill. I'm a woman, I'm a mom, I'm a typical person who happened to be able to be in the water for 30 minutes because a couple things. One, I realized I was focusing on what felt good in the water, what I could find that felt good in the water, more than I was focusing on the cold and the part that created resistance. And the second part of this was that I was like a child with an open mind, trying something for the first time. I had let go of any preconceived notions of what I could or couldn't do, or what was safe for me or wasn't safe, because I had cold plunge before, but I was typically in the water for about 10 to 11 minutes. And so my brain registered as that's the time frame I can do. And I also had been served some information somewhere along the way that it's safe to be in the water up to 11 minutes. After that, you could go into hypothermia. No clue if there's any validity to that. But my brain sunk in on that and said, yep, that too. When I was in that water, all of those thoughts were gone. They were out of my way. And I was truly like a child with an open mind, trying something for the first time. So my question to all of you, that is, what can you do or what could you do if you let go of what you thought you could or couldn't do or should or shouldn't do and just became like a child with an open mind.
Thank you for sharing, Andrea.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I love that story. I think the first thing that comes to mind is that so the only thing you were focusing on is what felt good.
Yeah, well, at first I wasn't, right? Like we don't, I didn't like things happen to us and we go right into this doesn't feel good. And, we all do. And I could feel that happening. But I also knew that if I could just relax enough and focus on something that felt better, I would be able to relax more and more and more and be able to get more from that experience in the cold plunge. So I think it holds true for everything, right? Like it's like when we experience something and we become afraid, we become nervous, we tell ourselves how this can't be, and we start to fight the reality of what we don't like, right? It can be with a partner, it can be with family, it can be with something we're trying, it can be with a sport and activity, anything. We go into resistance. When we can start to seek out what feels better, we start to feel better. Doesn't mean everything's fixed. We just start to feel better. Once we start to feel a little more relaxed and we feel better, and if we can then open up our minds to not staying attached to, I can't usually do this, I'm only able to do that. And we can let that go. Now we open up to see what's truly possible for us versus what we've limited ourselves to for so long.
Mhm. So I'm thinking about the thought process. So was it ever, when you're like doing maybe a plank and you're counting down 60 seconds and you're doing it. So I hit 60 seconds, I'm like, okay, 60 more. And then you hit 60 seconds, you're like, okay, 60 more. Was it like that incremental push, or were you just kind of in a meditative state of just like, I'm just
Yeah.
here now and that's it?
Yeah. You know what? I wasn't actually trying for anything. So it shifted my energy. I wasn't in, and I know exactly what you're talking about because that's a great way to like move through our thresholds, right? Okay, hit that. I hit that. I hit that. And in this case, it was more, we find what feels good here, what feels better. And I kept doing that. And I wasn't even realizing what my recipe was. I was just instinctively doing it. I was seeking it out. Yeah. And that was creating a level of peace within me that put me in a different state. Yeah.
So it's been a while. I was there with you, but it's been maybe a month and a half since that day. Have you
Yeah.
been able to kind of transfer this realization of focusing on the good in other parts of your life?
I have to some degree. It's easy to fall back into old habits. They're well wired, so it takes time to move through them. But I have referred to it in my mind at certain moments where I've gone into resistance over something. And I would have to say the other part of that is pushing myself, not pushing, but what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, maybe a little bit of pushing, like reminding. That's it. Just reminding myself, like, wait a minute, and actually bring myself back to the space of how good it felt in the water. Because actually, Tina, sounds odd, but when I got past the part of the water feeling so cold and it no longer felt cold, I truly, truly could feel the comfort of the water and the flow of the water, which put me in such a peaceful state that's the peace. When I take a moment to think of that peaceful state, it brings me in the here and now more into that state. Does that make sense?
I think so. Like
Yeah.
you are reminded of what it felt like. So it's just kind of that reminder of how good it felt in your daily life to kind of take you there also.
Yeah. So, like, if something is going off in my life in the here and now, I can actually, if I'm willing and I remember, because we can get caught up in the resistance of that situation. But when I remember, I can sit and relax and actually just feel what it felt like to be in a really peaceful place and state and actually start to take on those feelings again in the here and now. So now when I get up and walk away from what I previously, when I sat down, I had this angst and upset. I get up, I walk away feeling more level, calm, and content. Now I show up that way with the people around me and in my situations, and I have a very different outlook and interactions.
As an outsider looking at you that day, it looked like you were meditating. And I think you are an experienced meditator as well. Have you ever felt that way from meditating?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The thing is, I'm experienced in the sense that I have meditated, but I don't think of myself as some like, I don't know, well established meditator. Like it's more like I have woke up in the morning and I have put on a song that relaxes me and I meditate for 10, 15 minutes. Like it's simple and basic. It's not so involved and high level, just to be honest with you. I don't want to be thought of as some guru and I'm just a typical person meditating. But yeah, so I've had that experience, but I do find I really like the feelings of peace. So I gravitate toward things that put me in the space of peace. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think I was probably in some form of meditative state. If just focusing on what felt good counts as that, which I think in that case it did.
When I was doing cold plunges, I felt like it was easier to get into a meditative state in the cold plunge versus just, sitting on a chair or a pillow or something and just doing it regularly. Because
Yeah.
the cold, it's a sensation that's just all around you, and it's so easy to just focus on that one thing because it's all you can feel. So,
Yes. Right. Yeah.
yeah, for me, cold plunging was like meditation on steroids. Like it was much easier to get into a meditative state in the cold plunge because you also kind of know that if you don't get there, then you're going to be really cold. But if you can get to that meditative state, then you'll be comfortable.
Yeah, 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 exactly. It's so much more black and white in that situation. I had heard of a story, a good friend of mine, when she first started cold plunging, she invited a whole bunch of women together to cold plunge with her. And so one of the women she invited um, is a police officer in New York City. And she said before she went into the water, she said, I love, because my friend looked at this woman and she said, you don't look like you're nervous at all. She's like, I love cold plunging. I seek out cold plunges. She said, because I have seen things that you cannot imagine during my working hours. And she said, and when I cold plunge, it is the only place I can let it all go because she's so focused, right? And so it all leaves. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
I totally agree. Do you think that cold plunging is for everybody?
Yeah, why not? I think anybody can do it if they open their mind to it. I think it's like anything. It's just a thing to do if you're willing to get in there and try it and open up, get to the space where you can open up your mind enough to be willing to go beyond the initial shock of it. You're going to get something from it. And even if you don't get beyond the shock, you still did that cold plunge, even if it was for like 10 seconds. And that's pretty exhilarating. Like any part of stepping into cold water I think is cool. Cold water helps to start to clear some of our energy and blocks. So in that space, you go in for 10 seconds, you did a little something. You go in a little longer, you did something more. I will add, and that I have cold plunge, like I said before, but I do this other thing. Pretty much every time I take a shower, I turn the water on to as cold as it will go at the end. And I'll say certain things, kind of like mantras or incantations, whatever, to myself. And I do that for, I don't really know how long. I don't really time it. It's still I'm done saying my things, but I know that I'm clearing my energy. When I take a cold shower at the very end of my warm shower, I start to feel energized and alive. It's like it clears my blocks, it clears my energy, so I can feel really good. And it's very rare that I'll take a warm shower and stop at a warm shower. If I have the option of making the water cold, I will because I love that feeling of feeling like alive and vibrant. There are times if I'm not feeling well, I know it's better to wrap up with a warm shower so I can just be cozy and relax, and it's a different energy. But yeah, so I do have an inclination toward cold water for I feel like it's just invigorating to me. Yeah. Yeah.
As you were talking, you reminded me of my cold plunging phase, which I think was at the end of 2022. I had just gone through a breakup and I think I just felt stuck in my life and I didn't know what to do. And cold plunging was coming up. So I bought a tub and I started cold plunging every day. And it really changed my life, I think. The routine of it was very helpful for me to do it every single day. And just the fact that I put myself into this very uncomfortable situation and came out on the other side better, it gave me that initial push that I needed to know that like I can still do hard things and I can still grow and I can still move forward. So it's just as simple as cold plunging, and it might not be a big deal to some people, but for me, it really did give me just that initial little boop that kind of helped me along my way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it also like physiologically it was giving you more energy and it was energetically opening up channels that were probably blocked from heavy thinking and heavy situations that you encountered from the previous relationship and just with your own thinking.
Yeah.
So it was
And
doing
learning how
so
to
many
meditate.
say that again?
And learning how to meditate.
Yeah, right, right. Without even having to call it meditating. Because some people are like, meditating, I can't do that. But you put yourself in cold water if you want to be in there for at least a minute. There's something in you that's shifting into a different mode without realizing it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, I've really enjoyed this conversation today, Andrea. So if someone's listening and they like your vibe, let's go over briefly about what you do and where people can find you to listen or learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I've also very much enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for inviting me. And it's in terms of finding me, my website is Andrea Chapman Anderson.com. But actually, I have a free gift for anybody who is interested. And to back up a little bit, I'm a health and emotional wellness family manager and coach, a conscious parenting consultant, and an author specific to parents who have kids whose brains are wired differently. And basically, I help families connect more deeply with their kids, create more peace and calm in their relationships. And then once there's a different connection with parent and kids or teens, what ends up happening is parents are able to get in and support their kids in a different way, which means now the kids are more receptive to input and ideas to potentially helping themselves to thrive. So it creates a whole different dynamic that then helps the teen to up level more. And the way I do this is through mindset and also through food, specific foods that help to calm our nervous systems, as well as regulating nervous system regulating tools so that they can feel calm and safe within their bodies and within their relationships. So my free gift to go back to that is 4 simple recipes that help you to feel more calm and to eat these calming foods more often. Where you can get that, it's Andrea, Andrea, Chapman, Chapman, Anderson, Anderson.com/ for the number 4 simple recipes. Grab that if you're resonating with this idea. And otherwise, oh yeah, one other place you can check me out if you feel like it. It's Instagram at Andrea Chapman Anderson. So again, Tina, thank you so much for this time. It's been great.
Thank you, Andrea. I'll make sure to link those as well in the description so people can click it and make it easy. But I really appreciate you taking your time to be here and talk to me today. So thanks again. This was really fun, and I hope everyone goes and does a cold plunge after this.
Yeah, thank you again. Take care.